don't have the tool for this? This is like Mayapur, the humidity. Little. That's too high. I'll stick with this. If there's a tool, it's some kind of ramp. Those have to be tuned. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Jaya Radha, Madhava, Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha, Madhava, Kunja Bihari. Gopi Janavalabha, Girivara Dhari. Gopi Janavalabha, Giridhara Dhari. Gopi Janavalabha, Giridhara Yashodha Nandana, Brajajana Ranjana. Yashodha Nandana, Brajajana Ranjana. Jamuna Tira Vanachari, Jamuna Tira, Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jai Radha Madhava, Kunja Bihari. Jai Radha Madhava, Kunja Bihari. Gopi Janna Vallabha, Girivara Dhari. Gopi Janna Gopi Janna Vallabha, Giridhara Dhari. Vijana Vallabha, Varada, Yashodha Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yashodha Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Jamuna Tira Vanachari, Jamuna Tira, Jamuna Tira Vanachari, Jamuna Tira. Jaya Radha Madhava, Kunja Bihari. Jai Radha Madhava, Kunjabi Hari. Shri Radha Karachanji ki jai. Kantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Nitai Go Premanandi. Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. I think I'm a Shrutidar and I don't need a book. I just have it all memorized. I'm sorry to admit that I don't. There's a book. Maybe that'll work. So, what verse? Chapter 7? I have it on my phone. 7:7? 7:11? Wow. Who knows the verse? So that's 22 verses, right? 34. So we have like 6 hours? Or what? Reading up in preparation for Nṛsiṁha to come out of the pillar. You're preparing? Which verse do I focus on? The last one? Text 40. And how, if I focus on that, how will we get to 54? Half the time, I just read the verse and give a class. I don't even read the purport. I like to talk. Anyway, we'll play it by ear. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. You know, this is actually it's actually a camera stand. Sort of, kind of. This mic is always bowing down, it seems. It's bowing down to the speaker. That's the problem. When something doesn't work, I'm giving class to the Chinese devotees. I say, it's because it's made in China. I can go down a little bit. No, I have light. I'm good. So, we're beginning on text 34. This is Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 8. The Lord slays the king of the demons. Manifesting a full effulgence and a fearsome countenance, Lord Nṛsiṁha, being very angry and finding no contestant to face his power and opulence, then sat down in the assembly hall of the excellent throne on the excellent throne of the king. Because of fear and obedience, no one could come forward to serve the Lord directly. So I'm assuming this is after he killed Hiranyakashipu and took his throne. Is that correct? Purport. When the Lord sat on the throne of Hiranyakashipu, there was no one to protest. No enemy came forward on behalf of Hiranyakashipu to fight with the Lord. This means that his supremacy was immediately accepted by the demons. Another point is that although Hiranyakashipu treated the Lord as his bitterest enemy, he was the Lord's faithful servant in Vaikuntha. And therefore the Lord had no hesitation in sitting on the throne that Hiranyakashipu had so laboriously created. Plus, he gets benefit. You know, let's say you create something just for yourself, and Krishna breaks into your house and uses it. You get benefit. You benefit. One time, devotees were selling incense to stores. They were asking, does that person get benefit? He said, well, if you spend the money for Krishna, he gets benefit. So, whatever you use in Krishna's service, the person who created it gets benefit. Did you know that? Like sometimes we say, the cow is benefited, or the flower is benefited, the tree, the branch, the fruit came from, it's all benefited. It's true. It was a blessing. Okay. I was listening to a talk in Vrindavan by Akuti. She's the wife of Dinabandhu. And she said, there's a t-shirt that says, I lost my shoes in Vrindavan. There's another one that says, I lost my heart in Vrindavan, but I lost my husband in Vrindavan. So, you know, if Vrindavan steals your husband or wife, then you benefit. So whatever way Krishna exploits you, that's good. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur remarks in this connection that sometimes with great care and attention, great saintly persons and rishis offer the Lord valuable seats dedicated with Vedic mantras and tantras, but still the Lord does not sit upon those thrones. Hiranyakashipu, however, had formerly been Jai, the doorkeeper at the Vaikuntha gate, and although he had fallen because of the curse of the Brahmins and had gotten the nature of a demon, and although he had never offered anything to the Lord as Hiranyakashipu, the Lord is so affectionate to his devotees and servant that he nonetheless took pleasure in sitting on the throne that Hiranyakashipu had created. In this regard, it is to be understood that a devotee is fortunate in any condition of life. Yeah, so you come in touch with Krishna any way he handles you. It's good. And sometimes Krishna may handle me roughly, and most devotees don't like the rough handling. They like the soft handling. But for a pure devotee, the rough handling and the soft handling, it's still his hand. So it's good. And we just have to somehow realize that it's all good. Yeah, stand. Stand is very surrendered. Keeps surrendering more and more at every moment. Yeah, so, you know, sometimes you might have had the thought that there's so many diseases we could die from, but we could also die from Krishna's chakra slicing our head off. Well, which one would be better? So, you know, who wants to die getting their head sliced? But if it's from Vishnu, yeah, that's good. It's his disc, not the disc in a surgery that fails, or the cutting knife in a surgery that fails. So any way that we're touched by Krishna, it's good. Maybe it looks bad, but it's his arrangement. So devotee accepts, yeah, this is all good. It's a high level of realization, but extremely important, because there's going to be problems. I mean, I hate to come all the way here to Dallas to tell you there's going to be problems. It's like, well, why don't you go back to Alachua? But we all know that something's going to happen, right? It's just the nature of the world. So it's so important to be able to, well, no matter what happens, to allow that situation to move you closer to Krishna, because so often situations, when they're difficult, they move us away from Krishna, or they shouldn't. Maybe not all of us, but sometimes those situations move some devotees away. Things are so difficult, like I get these letters, things are so difficult I stop chanting. I'm like, no, I thought the next line was, things are so difficult I decided to chant 32 rounds. That's what I thought they were going to say. Because that makes sense, doesn't it? But it got so difficult I stopped chanting. And my mind is going, huh? What? Why? How did that happen? So there's some situation, it could be loss of faith in Krishna. Or just it's so difficult that they lose equilibrium or whatever. But if you want to go back to Godhead, every situation that happens in this world, somehow or other, you have to figure out how that can bring me closer to Krishna. Because if we don't, it's possible it could bring us further away by our own Maya, right? Krishna, why'd you do this to me? I chanted for 25 years and now look what happened. But what are you going to do now? Hang up your bead bag? Chant a different mantra? Cash in your bhakti points, for money? Like, what are you going to do? Every situation in this world is meant to bring us closer to Krishna. That's the way Krishna designed the world. That's what he wants. So if Krishna is pushing you closer to him and you turn around, that's not good, is it? And he's like pulling us and we're like letting go and turning around. So when things get difficult, sometimes that happens. I think Akuti was like, if Krishna wants to steal my husband, Krishna normally steals wives, but if he wants to steal husbands, yeah, whatever, why not? So I like that. This is text 36. At that time, the airplanes of the demigods, who desired to see the activities of the Supreme Lord Narayan, crowded the sky. The demigods began beating drums and kettle drums, and upon hearing them, the angelic women began to dance, while the chiefs of the Gandharvas sang sweetly. So, isn't this sweet that demigods get ringside seats to see all these leelas? I mean, it's all over Bhagavatam, Demigods are hanging out, watching, and I'm thinking, wait a minute. We say, don't be a demigod, go back to Godhead, but it's pretty good. If you're a demigod, you get first row seats for the Leela. When Lord Ram came back, the sun didn't set for 30 days because it wanted to see everything. Did you know that? Krishna made arrangements, so, there still was day and night, but it was actually 30 days sun time. And then the moon came and said, well, the sun was 30 days in the sky. I didn't get to rise and see your Leela. And Krishna said, you'll be born in the moon dynasty when I come. Then you'll see. You'll get. So, yeah. So, anyway, I guess it's not so bad to be a demigod, although that's not our desire, but we can be a little envious that they're getting, we can be envious they're getting to see the Leelas. Hare Krishna. That's good envy. This devotee told the story. I forget the details, but some devotee did something to please Prabhupada. And Prabhupada just smiled, I think, embraced him. And the devotee said, that was the first time I understood what transcendental envy was. Because I was like, that's what I want. So, it's like you hear the demigods are seeing a Leela, then you can take that and yeah, I want to see these Leelas. in the purified state, when you chant japa, you see the lila. So, we can pray. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna, what lila are you going to show me this morning? Krishna says, the sleep lila. You say, no sleep lila. What about the boring lila? What about the distraction lila? No, Krishna, would you? I know your name is the lila because it's non-different. Can you show me, or when, or maybe tomorrow, or so. There's so much to look forward to in Krishna consciousness. Like that's one thing you can look forward to, is seeing the leelas when you chant. It's there. Krishna's there. So, and if you read about higher stages of bhakti, there's two ways to respond to it. One way is like, oh, I'll never get there. That's way beyond my pay level. And the other one is like, someday. This is guaranteed for all of us if we follow the process. So maybe it's difficult now, but, it's like some of you are working really hard because you want to retire young. You want to buy a place in Vrindavan, Mayapur, and just like, right? Isn't it? Some of you? Or you're too attached to America now. But you know what I'm saying. Sometimes you work really hard in hopes that you can, stop working when you're 50, 55, and just, be a devotee full time. So we can look at the future and say, all right, whatever I am now, but still there are these higher levels of Krishna consciousness, and they are available to anyone who takes to the process. And if I keep going, there's some chance that something amazing is going to happen. Maybe I will see the Leela, or maybe Krishna will come during japa and hug me or what, who knows, right? But if you give up on the process, then definitely that's not going to happen. Okay, so now we're going 3 verses. My dear Yudhisthira, the demigods then approached the Lord. They were headed by Lord Brahma, King Indra, and Lord Shiva, and included great saintly persons and the residents of Pitriloka, Siddhaloka, Vidyadharaloka, and the planet of the snakes. The Manus approached, and so did the chiefs of various other planets. The angelic dancers approached, as did the Gandharvas, the Charanas, the Yakshas, the inhabitants of Kanardaloka, the Vetalas, the inhabitants of King Purushaloka, and the personal servants of Vishnu, like Sunanda and Kumuda. All of them came near the Lord, who glowed with intense light. They individually offered their obeisances and prayers, their hands folded at their heads. Text 40. Lord Brahma prayed, my dear Lord, you are unlimited and you possess unending potencies. No one can estimate or calculate your prowess and wonderful influence, for your actions are never polluted by the material energy. Through the material qualities, you very easily create the universe, maintain it, and again annihilate it. Yet you remain the same without deterioration. I therefore offer my respectful obeisances unto you. So, in one thing you can see, one thing you could read into these prayers, Lord Brahma is saying, you're unlimited. He's not saying I'm not unlimited, but that's what he means. He said, and you're eternal, and he's not saying I die, but that's what he means. Because it's comparison. Like if I'm great and you're great and I say you're great, it's like, I say you're great and you're looking at me and go, well, you're just as great as I am. So, what does that mean? I'm a millionaire, you're a millionaire, and I go up to you and say, oh, you're a millionaire, and you're thinking, well, so are you. So it's not a big deal for you. But if I say you're a millionaire and I'm all like, wow, then you can understand I'm not. So, that's why I'm glorifying you. I have a solution. Get a new mic stand. It's ordered? Get the ones made in Germany, not China. It's called K&H. K&H is a good brand. I should show you the picture of the mic stand in Alatra. You'd be so envious. It's like what they use in high-end studios. It's on wheels. You wheel it around. The boom arm is like 4, 5, 6 feet. And this never happens. It'll be the last mic stand you'll ever have to buy. Good luck. Or you could start a business and make mic stands that don't do this, because most of them, when they get old, do. It's just the mechanical thing here. Like, shouldn't be that hard. Okay, so in Lord Brahma glorifying Krishna, he's making a distinction. One time, Prabhupada was preaching, exposing impersonalism, and after someone said, "What is Krishna consciousness?" Like elevator speech. Prabhupada said, "God is great. You are not great. Therefore, you are not God." So it's like what's going on in this verse. It's like, I'm Brahma. I'm kind of great, but not as great as you. So I'm not you, even though I'm Brahma. And I think sometimes Brahma thinks he's special. Hare Krishna. It's just surrendered. It keeps bowing down. It says, no, this mic stand is humble, because humble people bow. And you're trying to get it to become proud, and you can't, because it's humble. So it'll just always bow. Okay. The activities of the Lord are always wonderful. His personal servants, Jai and Vijay, were confidential friends, yet they were cursed, and they accepted the bodies of demons. Again, in the family of one such demon, Prahlad Maharaj was caused to take birth to exhibit the behavior of an exalted devotee. And then the Lord accepted the body of Nṛsiṁha to kill the same demon who, by the Lord's own will, had taken birth in the demoniac family. In other words, Krishna's directing a Leela. He's the producer and director. And sometimes he plays in his own producer, director, and actor. Therefore, who can understand the Lord's transcendental activities? Not to speak of understanding the transcendental activities of the Lord, no one can understand even the activities of his servants. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya, Leela 23:39, it is said, Tanra Bhakya Kriya Mudra Vigyeha Na Bujhai. Who knows what that means? Well, it's not fair. You understand Bengali. You can't answer the question if you understand. You can't tell me what it means if you're translating from Hindi to Bengali. You have to just know it. Who knows this verse? Well, Anuradha, if you didn't understand Bengali, would you know this verse? You recognize it? Vigena Buja. You can't understand pure devotee unless you're a pure devotee. That's what it means. It takes one to know one. That's what it means. No one can understand the activities of the Lord's servants unless you're pure. Therefore, what to speak of the activities of the Lord? Who can understand how Krishna is benefiting the entire world? Can't even understand the activity of a pure devotee. How you understand Krishna. The Lord is addressed as Duranta Shakti, because no one can understand his potencies and how he acts. Duranta means there's no end, right? Anta means end, dur means difficult. The Duranta means the end is difficult to see, which basically means unlimited, right? Sanskrit is kind of poetic. Yeah. Then Shakti, unlimited Shakti. Okay, this is text 41. Lord Shiva said, the end of the millennium is the time for your anger. Now that this insignificant demon Hiranyakashipu has been killed, O my Lord, who are naturally affectionate to your devotee, kindly protect his son Prahlad Maharaj, who is standing nearby as your fully surrendered devotee. That was a polite way of saying, you don't, your anger fulfilled a purpose. You killed Hiranyakashipu. Now you don't have to exhibit any more anger. You know, when you get angry at one person, you get angry at everybody for like the next 5, 10 minutes, 3 hours, 3 days, like that. So that sounds like what's happening. He's angry, and the anger is no longer necessary. So anger, in the Gita, Krishna says we should try to control anger, strenuously try to control. So generally, anger is a sign of motive passion, but sometimes it's also transcendental. So sometimes we would see Prabhupada become angry. Like, you know this story, Prabhupada was invited, I think it was, they were inviting him so they get more people or something. So it wasn't just his program, other people were speaking. So Prabhupada spoke, and then another man spoke. And in the middle of his lecture, Prabhupada called over one of the devotees and said, start kirtan. You know, it's like, you wouldn't normally do that unless you're angry, right? So they had kirtan, and the man's, I don't know if he was upset, or I think the organizers were upset. And later they asked Prabhupada, why? He said, because his first part of the lecture was okay, but when he started speaking impersonalism, I couldn't tolerate it anymore. So we say, be tolerant. And Prabhupada couldn't tolerate it. He couldn't tolerate it, and he was angry. What's that all about? That's out of love. Sometimes you become very angry when you love someone. When someone is very dear to you and they're mistreated, you become very angry. So that anger is coming from love. It's not coming from Rajaguna. So we don't say control your anger in every situation. We say generally, when that anger is a manifestation of your own frustration of material desire or sense gratification or whatever, you couldn't control something. But Krishna's devotee is being offended. If Krishna is being offended, you don't become angry, shanti, shanti. No, that's the time to be angry. You should be angry. Your God has no arms, he has no head, he has no legs. Well, let's go outside and settle this. You should be angry. Hare Krishna. Yeah, so text 42. I guess I didn't read the purport, did I? Supreme Personality of Godhead is the creator of the material world. There are 3 processes in creation, namely creation, maintenance, and finally annihilation. During the period of annihilation, at the end of each millennium, the Lord becomes angry. And part of the anger is played by Lord Shiva, who is therefore called Rudra. When the Lord appeared in great anger to kill Hiranyakashipu, everyone was extremely afraid of the Lord's attitude. But Lord Shiva, knowing very well that the Lord's anger is also his Leela, was not afraid. Lord Shiva knew that he would have to play the part of anger for the Lord. Kala means Lord Shiva, Bhairava. And Kopa refers to the Lord's anger. These words combined together as Kopa Kala refer to the end of each millennium. Remember, Lord Shiva said, it's not the time for destruction of the universe. The implication is if you don't give up your anger, you're going to burn it up. You could destroy. Like in the story of Lord Ram, he goes to the ocean and says, hey, ocean, make a way. We have to get through. And the ocean doesn't come. And he calls again, and the ocean doesn't come. And Lord Ram gets angry. And what happened? The ocean started boiling over because he was angry. So, if we get angry, we heat up our body and maybe heat up the person next to us. Krishna gets angry, he could annihilate the universe. He can entirely burn up, at least warm up an ocean so hot that all the animals, aquatics in the ocean are going crazy. And then the ocean came and said, okay, yeah, sorry about that. I was busy. I was on my phone or something. I'm sorry. Something like that. He said, I'm sorry I was late. Yeah. Because he is avyayatma, because he never falls down, even when angry, the Lord is affectionate towards his devotees. Therefore, Lord Shiva reminded the Lord to act like an affectionate father toward Prahlad Maharaj, who was standing by the Lord's side as an exalted, fully surrendered devotee. Yeah. In other words, Prahlad's there, he's a little boy, you know. If you're angry, it's like, it's not good. So this is text 42. King Indra said, O Supreme Lord, you are our deliverer and protector. Our shares of sacrifice, which are actually yours, have been recovered from the demon by you. Because the demoniac king Hiranyakashipu was most fearsome, our hearts, which are your permanent abode, were all overtaken by him. It's like Krishna gave so much power to Hiranyakashipu that even the demigods were afraid of him. So, like if Krishna gives you some power, you can do amazing things. That you could perhaps do something today inconceivable, and tomorrow, like, you hardly get out of bed. It's if Krishna empowers you. So many wonderful things can happen. And the whole spreading of Krishna consciousness is based on that principle. It's not like, I'm so qualified to do something, but if I can surrender myself to Krishna, he can do things through me. Maybe if he's not doing it through me, maybe I'm not surrendered. And it's not that I need to be so materially qualified, of course that's there, but qualification can come if Krishna really wants to do something. And Prabhupada said, he said, the movement will spread. I was at this lecture. He said, the movement will spread whether you stay or not. And the implication was that if you stay, then he can use you, because he has to use somebody. So if he doesn't use you, he uses you. If he doesn't use you, he uses who's ever willing. So he's got a plan. I will use who's ever willing. Who's willing? It doesn't matter so much if you think you're capable or not, but it matters how willing you are. So Krishna can do amazing things. Yeah. Yeah. So text 43. All the saintly persons present offered their prayers in this way. O Lord, O supreme maintainer of those sheltered at your lotus feet, O original personality of Godhead, the process of austerity and penance in which you instructed us before is the spiritual power of your very self. Wow. Austerity is Krishna Shakti. It's Krishna's power. You get Krishna's power through austerity. Did you know, any of you know, that during Prabhupada's time, and I don't know why, if Prabhupada said this or it was an urban legend, but we all took cold showers. Did you know that? You ever read stories about the devotees, the Radha Damodar party on the buses, traveling, and they'd each have a bucket of snow because it was snowing, and they just take the snow and Hare Krishna. Yeah, that was like in whatever country you live in, however cold that water was, that was your shower. It's not so healthy to take super cold. I think according to Ayurveda, it's just cool. Cool is good. Ice cold is not. Although some people bathe in ice cold water, Anyway, austerity. And did you know we slept on the floor without even a pad? Just a sleeping bag on the floor. That was it. That was brahmachari. Sleeping bag on the floor, 50 other devotees in the room, and you go to take a shower, and the handle on the hot water has been pulled off. So even if you wanted, you couldn't do it. And you go in there, "Rah!" And yeah. So in 1981, I went to South Africa, and the devotees in South Africa, they make these little mats. They're like, half-inch thick, basically. Half-inch, 3/4, 1/4. Have these little mats, and they fold up in threes. So they're the way they're sewn. You can fold them up and has a little handle. And all the brahmacharis had these little mats, like half-inch mats. And when I went there, I was thinking, oh my God, they're in complete Maya. They're sleeping on mats. So austerity is good if you can do it. It's Krishna's, you get power from austerity. Lord Brahma created the whole world through austerity. That's where he got his power. This austerity was almost stopped by the activities of this demon, but now, by yourself appearing in the form of Nṛsiṁha, which is meant just to give us protection, and by killing this demon, you have again approved the process of austerity. Yeah. So, Prabhupada says austerity is the wealth of the Brahmins. It's really interesting. I could spend the next 3 days just talking about this next topic. In ISKCON we make Brahmins. That's like, when I joined, it was just like, it was like on a, factory, what do they call that? Conveyor belt. Yeah, it was like assembly line conveyor belt. So you join, you're on the conveyor belt, When it hits 3 months, first initiation, and then 6 months later, bing, second initiation. So everybody was getting Brahminical initiation. But being a Brahmin, it's like a big thing. Brahmins like austerity. They like to learn, they like to study, they like simplicity, they like cleanliness, they like all these things. So, not to offend anyone, but many devotees realize that actually I took Brahmin because I was on the conveyor belt, but I'm not really a Brahmin. It's just like I'm not, It's not so much my nature. So, how do we know who's a Brahmin? Samadhamma staposo cham shanti rajavamevachada. Qualities of a Brahmin are there in Bhagavad Gita. You could go down the list, see which ones you like. If you're a Brahmin, you should like all of them. Dhamma, sense control. You like sense control. You like simplicity. You see everyone equally. Tapa, you like tapasya. Do you like to do austerities? You like to chant extra rounds, go to Vrindavan, get up at 2 a.m., 32 rounds, 64, you like to do that stuff. Then you're a Brahmin. That's what it means. So now, all of you who have Brahminical initiation, who are wondering whether you're Brahmins, well, part of the idea is that Prabhupada gave us a chance to become Brahmins. So maybe I wasn't fully a Brahmin, but now, since I'm initiated as a Brahmin, I guess I should be a Brahmin. That's the idea, right? Put on the uniform, and the uniform will, direct you. Put on the thread, and the thread will teach you, kind of thing. Anyway, it's an important principle that you get Shakti from austerity. Sometimes you'll read stories in our Shastras of great sages who do all these austerities. And the way these sages are described is like powerful. That's an adjective. It's often the powerful sage so-and-so. Like, why are they so powerful? Because they've done so many austerities. So they're building up all this Shakti, They could just kill you with their eyes. Just look at you and you burn. And then, was it Vishwamrita? Who was doing austerities, and then Menaka came? Was it Vishwamrita? And Menaka came. And so all that Shakti, austerity builds the Shakti, and the sense gratification is like how you lose it all. So it's like he lost all his Shakti when he fell for Menaka. And then another instance happened when he vowed that's never going to happen again, and then he became angry. She came back? What's the story? I forget. Or someone else came back? It's like, so instead of falling for this woman, he just became angry. Or some situation, he became angry. And he also lost his Shakti. So he's building up this Shakti through austerity, and then when you can't control your senses, you spill it all out. So austerity builds it, sense gratification decreases it. So Brahmins have power. And like the brahmacharis who are doing book distribution every day, that's like a huge austerity, and they build up power. I was once I was preaching at college, and Vijay was there, and he was distributing books. And I was watching him, and I was thinking, if I did what he did and said what he did, nobody would take a book. He was just like, excuse me, sir, meditation, yoga, yeah. Show the few pictures, and like, this. And they'd all give donations, and I'm like, how did he do that? All those years distributing books, he's got so much Shakti, it's like whatever he says, people are like, yeah, okay. Can you give a donation? Okay. Isn't it? Like, when you're in the fire of book distribution, it doesn't matter what you say. Everyone's like, okay. You can say anything. Vaisheshika Prabhu, I don't even know if he remembers, but when he was in the fire, he would go up to people and say, excuse me, sir, all glories to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years together and extinguishes the blazing fire of material existence. This Sankirtan movement is the prime. He'd go on like that, give him a book, and he'd say, like, when you're in that space, anything works. So that's what happens through that service. It's like, it's so difficult. There's so much austerity, so much you have to tolerate, and so forth. Or for any service. Every service has its austerity. Deity worship, Krishna is very demanding. Why do you have to eat so much? You're making our life difficult, You ever feel like that? Why do you have to get up so early? Let us sleep in a little bit, So demanding, like, why do you have to dress in these fancy dresses? They're so expensive. Like, you're taking our money, you're taking our time and energy. And Krishna's like, yeah, that's the whole point, because if I didn't, you'd just be like sitting on your phone all night. You can't. You have to get up. So every service has difficulty. Every service is austere. And by doing austerity, you build up Shakti. And that's how Brahma created. Through austerity, he created the whole universe. And that's the idea of brahmachari life, Gurukula. You do austerity, you build power. So you can all become great sages, and when you walk in the room, the floor is going to shake. Here comes the great sage. From doing so much austerity. Yeah. Okay. The living entities wandering within the jurisdiction of the 8,400,000 species of life get the opportunity for self-realization in the human form, and gradually in such other elevated forms as those of demigods, karanas, and charanas, as will be described below. You can go up, become a demigod. In the higher statuses of life, beginning from human life, the main duty is tapasya, or austerity, as Rishabdev advised his sons, tapo divyam putraka yena sattvam shudyat. Who knows that verse? Raise your hand. That is the verse in which Rishabdev told his sons, tapo divyam, do divine austerity. Putraka, you'll become purified. Sattvam shudyat. Yeah. You will experience Brahma Sokyam Tanantam if you do austerity. Well, that's pretty good. That's worth it, right? Unlimited happiness. Otherwise, you're going to do austerity anyway, and you'll get limited happiness. So, choose your poison. This poison produces better results. To rectify our material existence, austerity is absolutely necessary. However, when people in general come under the control of a demon or a demoniac ruling power, they forget this process of tapasya and gradually become demoniac. All saintly persons who were generally engaged in austerity felt relieved when Hiranyakashipu was killed by the Lord in the form of Nṛsiṁha. They realized that the original instruction concerning human life, that it is meant for tapasya, was reaffirmed by the Lord when he killed Hiranyakashipu. Because Hiranyakashipu is not personifying, he's doing austerity, but not for spiritual perfection. We have to go to verse 54. What time does class end? I'm going to have a question or comment. You got up to verse 43. 44. Don't you find it interesting that in the Bhagavatam, so many of the prayers have philosophical points in them? You ever notice that? It's prayers often are, I'm so fallen, I'm so wretched, please help me, and so forth. These prayers, Bhagavatam, so often are, you are the Supreme Personality of God, the creator of the creation, the maintainer and annihilator, all living entities are dependent on you. Like a whole, little Bhagavad Gita in each prayer. Isn't that interesting? It's like, almost like Krishna's inside of them and say, okay, speak Bhagavad Gita in your prayer. We need an instruction here. Yes, you have? No. Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. I appreciated your point about how hard things will come and we keep chanting and we increase our chanting. I was following recently, you had your surgery a few months ago.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you're here and you're looking quite well.
If you're a little tired and you want to, you need some energy and youth, just get a triple bypass. They're really good. Your heart starts working better, Yeah, that's my recommendation. Yeah, go ahead.
So I just wanted to see if you wanted to share anything from that.
Well, that was quite an austerity. Yeah, I had a very interesting realization. Well, I had many. And I realized, it was, how sometimes you want to realize something, but you're not qualified to realize it, so Krishna has to put you in a situation so now you're acting in a way in which you become qualified to have that realization. Because, we want to realize things that we're not qualified to realize because we're not acting in a way that will qualify us to realize that. So that whole situation was so austere. I don't even know what happened. I don't know. I was out of the body, in the body, went back to Godhead, came back. I don't know. But it was austere, especially like the first few days after. And I was having this intense attraction towards Krishna like I never had before. And I was thinking, why? Well, in that condition, it was difficult to eat. I would choke. It was difficult. I would choke drinking. I would choke eating. I couldn't get up and use the toilet. For maybe 5 days, I couldn't even evacuate. I couldn't do anything on my own. And they put this, I don't know what they call it, mask. I think that respirator that they were giving people on COVID, because my lungs couldn't work on their own. So that was amongst the most hellish things I've ever done in my life. That could be number one. That was It's breathing for you. It was like horrible. So, and I had no energy, and I hardly had any breath. I couldn't chant a whole mantra, just one mantra. I didn't have enough breath to chant. Maybe Hare Krishna Hare. That was like it. And take a breath. And no energy to think. And then I realized, now I'm in the perfect position to appreciate Krishna. Because in this position, there is not even one iota of thinking that I can enjoy. There's no question that I could enjoy anything. So for that period of time, probably the first time since I've been in the material world, I had full realization that I'm not the enjoyer. I had total realization that I am the sufferer, complete, 108% I'm the sufferer, and minus 8% I'm the enjoyer. And then in that position, I was appreciating Krishna. I was like, yeah, that's it. When you realize you're not the enjoyer, that's when you will appreciate Krishna. Because as long as you're competing with him, it's like, he's like, okay, forget you. You want to have this loving relationship and compete with me? You know? I mean, sometimes that happens in marriages, right? My wife makes more money than me. I hate her, you know. It's bad for my ego, you know. It's like, what kind of relationship is that? So yeah, that was huge. Like, you know, I had to be thrown in that situation to come to this, I'm not the enjoyer, there's no question. I'm laying on this bed with, like, you know, just my body's trying to figure out what happened and trying to recuperate. And no, I'm not the enjoyer, that's for sure. It's like, and Krishna's like, okay, here's about 10,000 realizations now that you'll get when you realize you're not the enjoyer. And it was just like, wow. And then the other interesting thing, there was a period of time, it wasn't that long, but it was like, okay, now that I realize I'm not the enjoyer, it's like the connection between Krishna speaking to me and me, it's like there's no interference. It's like, you know, 300 megabytes per second. It was like there was nothing. It was just like there was nothing blocking it. So we don't realize that this desire to enjoy, it's blocking this communication Krishna could be giving us. Because he's too far from us. We can't hear him. And this was crazy. It was like I was getting realization and people are saying, wow, your realization, that was amazing. I go, no, I was just repeating what Krishna was saying. It was really weird. Like I'd never been, you know, we say Krishna's giving me intelligence. In that situation, it was like, no, I'm just talking. And it didn't last that long, but being in that I'm not the enjoyer mode, it was like everything changed completely. Of course, the body got better. It's like, well, now I can enjoy, you know, where's the ice cream? And, that's there. Oh, not as much as it used to be, because that's a good realization to have. So whenever you're in a situation where you can't enjoy, it's good because you want Krishna to be the enjoyer. The other realization I had was just, I don't know if it'll shock you as much as it shocked me, but before I went in the hospital, I was on this very strict diet, and it was austere, not that bad, but you know, just certain things we couldn't have, and quite simple. And then after, the doctor prescribed drink turmeric and ginger juice. So I don't know if you ever had turmeric and ginger juice. You just take a couple of teaspoons, mix a little water. And it's hot and bitter, and some people are crazy enough to think it tastes good, but I'm not that crazy about it, right? And so after the operation, we decided, oh, I should, you know, take this. This is good, you know. It reduces inflammation, helps digestion. I wasn't hungry and whatever. I couldn't take it. It's like the taste was so, I couldn't tolerate the taste anymore. So what was happening was, in that situation, I don't know why, I had to tolerate so much inconvenience and pain. I hit my tolerance level, and I couldn't like tolerate discomfort at all. I couldn't even tolerate ginger and turmeric. I was like, yeah, get it out. Just don't get it near me. I can't look at it. It was weird. I'm a pretty tolerant person, and then I was like, I just couldn't tolerate anything. And then I began thinking about these devotees who say, let me take the karma of the whole universe on my back and I'll suffer it. I was at like I can't suffer any more than this. If I do, I don't know, I'll kill myself. It was like that. I mean, it wasn't that bad, but I just don't have any tolerance for pain now. I've had too much of it. And I began thinking of these pure devotees who say, I'll take the whole karma. And then at that point, I was like, there's no way I could do that. I can't even drink this ginger turmeric, or to speak of the whole karma of the universe. And at that point, I realized that's not something to take lightly, like you read it in Shastra. You go, oh, cool, I'll try that. Maybe I'll try that next year. Maybe I'll get up to that Krishna. I'll pray to Kalachandra. Give me all the karma of the universe. No. That is like the person who has that realization, they're not of this world to think that way. Because it was, at that point, I was like, there's no way. Just get me better. I can't tolerate this. So that was interesting. And then I had 2 tubes stuck in my back to drain liquid around my lungs. And that was not fun. And it was so painful, I didn't know what to do. And my wife said, don't take any pain pills because they make you crazy. I was much more crazy in pain, but I said, all right, maybe they're going to give me some heavy pain pill and I'll be completely intoxicated. So I went the whole day with these tubes in my back. One doctor said, maybe they didn't put them in right. I said, it was really painful. So then, in the height of the pain, I said, well, I know what to do now. I'm going to meditate that I'm not the body. So I went in my not the body meditation. And the more I meditated on not the body, the more my consciousness was focused on those tubes in my back that really hurt. And I was like, I don't know. Yeah, I know that Prabhupada transcended his body. So I had full realization that I don't know how to transcend my body. It was like too painful. When something's painful, your consciousness is on the pain. You can't get it off the pain. So that was interesting. It was like it went with this, like, I'm going to take all the world's karma on my head. Yeah, right. You're not ready for that. And then, how close are you to self-realization? Not maybe as close as I thought, because I couldn't even transcend a little bit. Well, it wasn't a little bit of pain. It was a lot. But I couldn't really transcend it. By thinking I'm not the body, I couldn't, deal with it. It's just, I like Krishna, well, I'm trying to realize I'm not the body and it still hurts. I'm trying to, but I'm consciousness, I'm blissful, but it still hurts. I'm eternal, but it's, so it's, to be distinct from the body, that's a big thing, at least for me. Those are some of the many. I think all the realizations are online somewhere. But, if you... Suffering's not bad if it gives you those realizations. Yes?
Thank you, Prabhu, for the wonderful class and sharing your realizations. And we pray to Radha Kalachandji, you stay healthy eternally. Prabhu, I have a question. What it will take for us to understand from others' realization? Because we are, at least I can speak for myself, how many kicks in our life we need so that we can be serious? I mean, what extreme level we need to go so that we can take this path seriously? We understand this is a human form of life, you have to do, but we really don't act in that way.
Yeah. What a question. How many kicks of Maya do I need before... the thing is, instead of getting kicked by Maya, just get kicked by Prabhupada's books. And that'll, that will kick sense into you. Maya may never kick sense into you because Maya kicks you and like, oh, I went the wrong way. Let's try another way. I can do it this. That's how Maya works, right? The question is how long? Well, how long have we been here? Long time. We've been here forever. So how long does it take to realize? Maybe forever, maybe longer than forever. And so Prabhupada writes his books so we get the realization, right? And he wants us to keep reading because we forget, right? Okay, so sometimes we have to get kicked to remember. But I think it's really dependent on how much you want to be Krishna conscious. Because the more you want to be Krishna conscious, the more you get it. And I say, I know Krishna did this. He's telling me something. You know. And another thing that I think is really good is when you are being pulled towards something, impelled, tempted, or you're actually thinking about something which has nothing to do with bhakti. Just ask yourself at that moment, what kind of Vaishnava am I that I'm thinking of this or contemplating doing this, or I'm actually doing it now? What kind of devotee am I? Because it's not the kind of devotee Prabhupada's trying to make me in his books. So I think Prabhupada's books are the better kick. If you want to get kicked by that. Because that's what he's doing. And the more you get kicked by those books, the less you'll need to be kicked by Maya, and the more you will, benefit from Maya's kicks. Yeah, I mean, the question to ask ourselves was like, how many kicks do you need till you become smart? It's like, I was actually thinking about this morning. It's like, the question I was asking myself is like when at some point in your devotional life, you just have to say no. That's it. It's over. I'm not doing this. It's like what sannyas life. Sannyas is like, it's all over. It's complete. Nothing. So we're on our way to complete renunciation. So we have to move things out of the way. So one by one. Okay, when am I going to move this? Because this is nowhere and it's not helping me. It's hurting me. And it's making me miserable. So can I just, burn it up and throw it in the dustbin or the trash can? Dustbin is British and Indian, right? Say dustbin in India? Yeah. Trash can. In India, they only put dust in that bin, and we put trash. And dust is also trash, so it's a better name. Yeah. So it's like, when? This thing's going on. I don't need it. It's hurting me. I think about enjoying it. Sometimes I give into it. When am I just going to go, okay, that's it, because this I don't need, and this is just another thing. So another way of looking at it is, imagine, they have these little games for kids where there's things in the sandbox, and you grab them with your mouse, there's things along the sandbox, and you grab them with your mouse, and you put it in the sandbox. My daughter was showing me, because she teaches children. And I was thinking, well, this is interesting. What we can do is have a list of anarthas, they can be little icons of different anarthas. And then you have you in the sandbox, and you have Krishna in the sandbox, and then you have to go down the list of anarthas and go well, which ones are in the way between you and Krishna? And that visual, you're like, oh my God, pride, lust, envy, and like this is all what's in the way between me and Krishna, and you see it visually. And then, well, would you like to remove anything from that sandbox? And you just remove it, it's an action that would remind you, I've removed that from the sandbox. So it's like, I'm not going to put it back in my sandbox. So if you think of these things as, well, this is what's getting in between me and Krishna, our relationship, just like, between you and your wife, you go to counseling, and they go, well, you isolate these things that are disturbing the relationship, It's the same thing. So I think that's important. Is it willing? Is this thing that important to you that you would hold on to it even though it's getting in the way of your relationship with Krishna? And if it is, then at least use it for Krishna in some way. Can't let it go completely, so I have to employ it in service. But in terms of certain anarthas, it's like, that the question you asked me is the question to ask yourself. When am I going to let it go? It's a really good question. Just ask yourself, when am I going to let this go? And the answer is supposed to be right now. I mean, that's the ideal answer. There's this really interesting exercise. It's called the Sedona method, where when you are feeling an emotion that you don't want to feel, you ask yourself, could you let this emotion go? Of course, the answer is yes. And then you ask yourself, would you? Could you, would you? It's the same question. And then you ask yourself, when? Could you let this emotion go? Yeah. Could you let this anartha go? Yeah, I could. When do you want to let it go? And of course, you're supposed to say now. But it's powerful just asking the question, because if you can't let it go, then you have to use it. But if you can, or do you want to let it go? Can you let it go? Would you be willing to let it go? Okay, the last question, when? Tomorrow at midnight, or like, put in your calendar, right? And it's not necessarily going to be easier if you put it in your calendar for next month than today. I think in many cases it's easier today than next month. I mean, next month, maybe we need time to detach, but some things we don't need time. We just need to do it, right? So the question you asked me, we should all ask ourselves that question. How long am I going to have to get kicked before I surrender? Well, you should answer that question, don't you think? Yeah. How long? No longer. Not longer. Yeah.
So you also talked about the mentality of enjoyment. So can we again do the same exercise?
Talk about the what?
So you said about the enjoyment, right?
Yeah.
So it's the same exercise we do for the enjoyment, because more or less it's all connected to the enjoyment, whatever we are doing.
It's the same thing. Well, if what it is not helping you and you don't, like there's things we do and we know, I don't even like this. I'm just habituated to it. I don't even want to do it, but I'm doing it. But for that question is like perfect. When am I going to let it go? Because I already know I want to let it go. So it's like, it's not would you let it go? Yeah, I would. Could you? Yeah, if I wanted to, I could. Well, do you want to? Well, really, I do. So when are you going to let it go? You can try it and see, because there is power in making statements like that. I'm going to do this. I'm not going to do this. It has power because we do it all the time. We tell ourselves, "Oh, I could never do that." Then you just made it more difficult to try to do that. I could never give that up. Well, now how are you going to give it up? You reinforced your attachment. So to say, yeah, I'm going to give it up. If it's something that you really need to give up, it's really harmful for you. You reinforce it by your words. Words are powerful. They have energy. And when that thing comes, it's just like when it comes, you just make a statement. I'm not playing with you. I don't want you. This is not what I'm doing anymore. And that statement gives you Shakti, gives you power. If you don't believe me, just try it. If you tell Maya, no, I'm not playing this game anymore, you'll be surprised at how easily that illusion or desire or attachment subsides. No, this is stupid. I'm not playing. I gave this up 50 years ago. Why are you bothering me now? Or whatever it is, 10, 5, however long you're a devotee. Don't you think it's stupid? You gave it up 30 years ago and now you're still thinking about it. You say, Maya, just leave this one. You don't need to tempt me with this because I'm not going there. So you go somebody else, not me. And so you're stating that. It gives you power. Try it out. It works.
Thank you, Prabhu.
I do it all the time. Maya comes knocking on your door. Just say, I think you have the wrong house. There's plenty of other people here who would be interested in you, but I'm a devotee, so not me. And if you say that long enough, she'll stop coming. Wouldn't that be good? I haven't seen Maya. How you doing, Prabhu? I haven't seen Maya in years. She never comes to my house anymore. I told her not to come. Oh, sounds good. Hare Krishna. Is it time for Mahaprasada Govinde? Your favorite mantra? Okay. Of course, we go on forever, but there's always tomorrow. and Sunday. Thank you. Nice to be here. Kalachanji looks happier than ever. Is he? Materna? Is he happier now? You know this story? Prabhupada came to LA and he asked the head Pujari, is Dwarkadish happy? And the head Pujari, maybe it was Jai Tirtha or his wife. But he's completely caught off guard. It was like, is he happy? I hope. He was kind of like, he said something like, I hope so, or I guess so. Prabhupada said, no, you should know. You should know if he's happy or not. I think Prabhupada thought he was happy, and he was just saying that. But no, you should know, not yes. Yeah, he's happy. We feed him well, we dress him well, we take him. Yeah, he's very happy. Materna, do you remember this devotee? Looks just like you. In the Japa retreat, who said something really funny. Can I repeat it? About the football game? You remember that? We were talking about some people chant japa while they're watching football or TV. And Maternov said, definitely I don't chant japa during the football game, I only chant during the commercials. You remember that? That was a good one. That was too good to forget. Yeah. Hare Krishna. I will pray for you. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Go Premanandi. Hari Hari Bol.